Dr. Jaskaran, please start the session.
Okay, thank you for those for making me part of this ongoing international faculty development program. And today is the sixth day, and today we are going to discuss about theory. And today's topic is strengthening the theoretical foundation of research. And when we see the theory in research in the very beginning days of uh, researchers in general, that they take theory as very tedious task, sometimes very difficult and sometimes boring also, because most of the researchers are fascinated and excited about to learn data tools, quantitative methods, and learning about data. Yes, data is important, empiricism is important, but when we see the theory, the engagement with theory is also important, because when we see the philosophical contradiction, there is a great contradiction from the olden days, that there is a difference between theory and difference between reality and appearance, because sometimes the things as they appear, they are not the reality. That is why when sometimes we overemphasize the data, sometimes we miss something that is closer to reality. But today, we are very fortunate that today we have the speaker who earlier engaged with the same association in quantitative techniques. He delivered lectures on quantitative methods, and today he's trying to engage ourselves with theory. So he will discuss the strengthen the theoretical foundation of your research. It is helpful for the researcher who are in their beginning stage, and even for the researcher who are facing difficulty in publication. When they have written something, sometimes they face difficulty that they have good empirical analysis, but sometimes something is missing, that is theory, and how they have to engage with the theory. Today we will discuss, and today's speaker is Dr. Razzak Janjua, and he is from WSP University, Poland. He is teaching there, and along with teaching, he is a researcher in sustainability and compliance. He did PhD from the same university in international relations. Besides, he also did MSc in international business and trade. He also did master in commerce from FUUST University. He has over a decade experience in industrial compliance and risk management. His area of interest are sustainability, finance, and international relations. And presently, he has published on regulatory compliance in investment. And now I invite Dr. Janjua. Sir, now you can
Hello,
unmute
hello,
yourself.
hello, hello. So thank you so much, Professor Singh, Professor Firdaus. So thank you so much for inviting me. And now, before starting today's session, I just would like to share a few things that during my all session, I am going to share my personal experiences and my personal, you can simply say that how I learn those things and how I turn my failure into the small kind of success. Okay, so I will share my journey with all of you, and I am going to share my few thoughts, okay, which really help me out in my overall research process. So, my name is Dr. Laeeq. Okay, as Professor Singh told you, I am working in the WSB University from last 3 years. I am also working in the industry more than 11 years now in financial industry. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit of my background, little bit of my small history, small challenges, then we will get to the conclusion. So, what happened? I started my PhD in 2016, to be very honest, and when I start my PhD, I was very much deep into reading things, reading research paper. My professor is showing, please read this paper, please read this paper, please read this paper. And to be very honest, the earliest challenge which I can simply tell you, which I have faced in my research journey, when my professor was telling me, Mr. Like, please read this paper, I was really not able to understand the concept. Read this paper and critically analyze this paper. Like, what is the meaning of read this paper? There is a paper title, there is an introduction, there is abstract, there is an empirical analysis, there is a conclusion. What I should read, how I should understand the paper. Okay. So that was my early day challenges, and I start reading paper. To be very honest, until the 3 years I was reading the papers, but I was not able to understand a lot of things while reading the paper. Okay. I'm not feeling ashamed for telling you all this, because this is because of my journey. And then after reading few paper, then I started, okay, let me start writing my own research paper. And I start my writing my own research paper, and I started in 2017. This I remember. From 2017 until 2020, I was working on only one and two paper. And when I finish my paper, when I submit my paper, I just got my Dex rejection from the paper. I know it's really it's really not good. Hello? Yes.
Please unmute participants. Please mute yourself. Participant.
Okay. So my paper just got rejected, and to be very honest, I just went to the my mentor. His name is Professor Yasik Walush. He is a chief data scientist now, working in the Germany. I just went to him and I just asked him, Professor, my this paper is rejected. I work hard, everything. And my paper was approximately 18 pages. He just go through with the manuscript, and he just asked me one question, Mr. Like, which theory or which theoretical foundation do you have for your this research paper? And to be very honest, I was just like, for a while, I was just silent. I was looking on my paper, and I say, no, but professor, I solved this regression equation with this model. But he said, but based on which theory? And I was blank on that time. Like, I know there was no theoretical foundation in my paper. And then uh, what I did during my that time, I was working on my literature review part for my PhD thesis, collecting this material, collecting this Excel file, learning the software during my this journey. And when I finished my first PhD proposal, and I just went to my professor, his name is also Professor Yasik, and he just asked me the same question. Okay, like, what is your theoretical framework of your research? From where your all those research model, from where your all those material, whatever you did in the theory is coming from? And I was again blank, because for me, we being like a researcher, it's very hard to follow the theories, it's very hard to follow the theoretical concept. So until 2020, 2021, I was really facing a lot of challenges in terms of theories. And then slowly I overcome this thing, I overcome these challenges. And now I would say like this, not completely, because we are still in the learning process. Somehow I able to tackle that, how you can easily incorporate theories into your papers. So this is the title of my small sharing of my learning process with you, strengthening the theoretical foundation of your research. So today I'm going to share the experience, my personal experience until now, how we can enhance our paper in terms of theory, how we can mention some different kind of theories. Why I am using the word different kind? There are a lot of kind of theories, but on which way we can mention the theory in our paper. Second thing I'm going to share with you guys that how I'm sorry, I'm just using collectively during my lecture to my student guys word, like collectively to all of you. So I will also share with you guys that why theoretical foundation is important, and which kind of certain things which journals are looking in your manuscript and in your paper. So please, Mr. Singh, just tell me if you are able to see my screen. I just changed the screen. Are you
Yes,
able
it
to
is
see
visible.
my screen is
Yes, yes,
it is
it
visible?
is
Okay.
visible. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You can
So
continue.
from the desk of editor in chief. So this is Mr. Professor Yang Meng. He is editor in chief according to the Alvesar for Sustainable Polymer and Engineering Journal. He's among the top rank editor in chief for the journals for the Alvesar. So he said like this: every research paper begin with the search of the theory. And just allow me a moment because here, okay. Theory provides the foundation for the inquiry, guide analysis, and transformation enhance into the meaningful knowledge through the continuous pursuit, testing, and refinement of the theory, research, advanced understanding, and contribute academic and societal progress. So he said like this that according to this professor, Mr. Professor Yang Meng, he said like this that every research paper should have the theory, should have the theoretical foundation. And now here is a small tip which I really would like to mention with you, which I personally say to my all students, and which I learned from my mentor. And he told me one thing: whenever you write any research paper, whenever you write any research paper, after finishing your research paper, being like a layman, analyze your research paper, that have you mentioned anything regarding theory in your paper or not? Does your results are comply with any theory or not? And which theory you follow in your throughout the process? And he gave me extremely easy technique. He gave me easy technique. And the easy technique I already mentioned in the next slide. This is the research tip. When you write your paper, just go for control plus F search option, whether it is a PDF, whether it is a Word document, and just write the keywords: theory, 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 theory. Do you have a theoretical perspective? Do you have a theoretical foundation? Do you have a theoretical framework? Do you have theoretical underpinning, theoretical lens, grounded in the theory, guided by the theory, anchored in the theory? So you really need to search in your research paper that do you have a theory over there or not? My practical life experience, guys. Last year, I wrote extremely good paper, and my paper was on income inequality,
जाओ उधर
regard
जाओ
democracy, income inequality, democracy, and
बर्थडे
some other variables.
और
And
यही सब
I
ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है
and I just submit my paper
Just
in the
wait.
journal.
Sorry for inconvenience. Dear participants, if you will be disturbing like this, I will throw you out of the room. So it is very bad behavior. Someone from Anjali. So if you are unable to be, representative during the session, I believe don't join the session. And regarding the certificate and all, that will be given to you. We are having only one purpose here in Jammu and Kashmir Economic Association. We are very serious about the workshops, and we are bringing scholars all across the globe asking for them their precious time, but you are very, taking it very casually. So I request you again, please be cautious. Don't play with your mic and don't bring this, unnecessary sound. Please be cautious. If you are busy, don't join. We are providing recording also. We are very much flexible. We want only participants who are very interested, want to learn, gain from this workshop. So you will not get such type of workshops anywhere. So please go ahead. Sorry for the inconvenience. Please go ahead.
Okay. So, I wrote an extremely good paper, and this paper is about the income inequality, OECD countries. I have a different democracy index, variables. I have a good research equation. I apply a extremely good methodology in my paper, and I submit my paper. To be very honest, first paper I submit, it was like 2 or 3 days on the 2 or 3 weeks on the editor desk. It was rejected. Again, another paper I submitted, another journal I have submitted, and after few weeks it also again rejected. And then I just simply figure it out what is the biggest problem was in my paper is that I didn't clearly mention the theoretical framework. And with this theoretical framework, I was unable to drive the research framework equation. That is why the journal was keep rejecting my paper, because this is the most important thing. Here is the most pinpoint. Please focus on my word, guys. If you will just look on the Q1 journals, the top ranked journals of the world, and all the old famous journals of the world, Elsevier, Harvard, or Springer, the old one journals, which are in the Q1 quintile, you will see that in every paper, the authors, the writers, they mention regarding some theories. They follow some theories. They drive their research equation from some kind of theories. And that is the pain point here. All those journals, they always want to see that which kind of research you have done in your research work, in your research paper, and which theory you follow, now. Here is the question arises when I am sharing with you my thoughts that we must have to follow the theories. We must have to incorporate some theory in our research work. So here question arises in your mind, but professor, how we can follow some kind of theory, how we will search some exact theory which is exactly as per our research work, like it is like a headache job. We really don't know a lot of theories. We are the learning process, we are the beginner researcher. So now in the next 2 or 3 slides I am going to share those tips, okay, how you can easily search for the theories. Before going to the next slide, the fourth one, I really would like to go in my slide number 5. Okay, which is a common layman pattern. Okay, why I'm saying like this is a common layman pattern because I am working as like a economist, I am working as like a international relation practitioner, sustainability practitioner. So what is my way of work? I have some kind of data, I just saw some kind of data, or I even read some good paper. I just saw, oh, it's really amazing, very good data, very good variables. Okay, maybe I will test this data for some different sample countries. Maybe I will test those variables for different panel countries. Maybe I will test some different relationship with those variables. So in my layman approach, I have variables which I can say observations. I have a pattern. Pattern means how those variables behaving with each other. And then I start working on those variables. Right now, I still not touch the theory. A common layman approach. all of you, I don't know about you, but I can simply say majority of you who are sitting over here, you have the variables, you just read the paper, you have a good variables, you search the variable, you found the variables. Now you are searching, your brain is working, you are searching for the different samples, your different models. You just want to test those variables, you just want to check the impact on those variables on different other variables like dependent variables, independent variables. But you still confuse which kind of theory we should follow, the common layman approach. So here, in that kind of mechanism, we usually follow the inductive theory approach, a theory building mechanism. What is the meaning of theory building mechanism? The meaning of theory building mechanism, we have the data, we identify the pattern, and we just figure out or we analyze the relationship between the pattern, and then we develop our explanation. Example. So in theory building, we just the flow of work is look like this: observation, pattern, and theory. Example: observation. Many smokers develop lung disease. Heavy smoker often have a poorer health. Non-smokers generally have a fewer lungs problem. So see, in front of you, you have a three different observations. And now in all those different observation, one thing is common. Smoking is common and a bad health condition is common. And what you did, you just collect the different samples, you just analyze the relation, and you just develop the theory which state that smoking increases the risk of serious problem and premature death. Smoking just increases the risk of serious health problem and premature death. I can give you the more easy example, which I always asking my students. Like I'm living in Europe. So I'm living in Europe and I just ask my students one question during the class. Why in the Europe, in every bus stop, it is written that you cannot smoke cigarette here? What is the logic behind it? What is the logic behind it? Like, you cannot smoke the cigarette on the bus stop. And this thing is applicable in the Europe from last 15 years. It was not applicable before 15 years. There is a whole mechanism of theories behind it. There is a whole mechanism of pattern behind it. And what is the pattern? Same kind of observation they did. There is a family. In this family, there is a one guy, he really not smoke, but three members, they are smoking the cigarettes. Everywhere is a smoke in the home, okay? And those people who are smoking the cigarettes, they have a bad health, their lungs are not healthy. And the person who is not smoking the cigarette, eventually his lungs is also getting bad. And they test this observation, they test this pattern, and they develop the theory. Even if you're not smoking the cigarette, but if you are closer to the person, if you'll stay or live near to the person who is smoking the cigarette, your lungs will be affected. So now with the observation, with the pattern, you develop the theory. And now just think in your mind for a while. You just write your all the research paper. You have a regression equation, you have a regression model, you have a variables, and your variables have positive either negative impact in the end. Now here you just need to mention this positive effect or either this negative effect is based on which theory, which outcomes do you have based on which particular theory. So this mechanism is known as inductive theory, a theory building mechanism. Now here is a trick. here is a small trick which I really would like to share with all of you. I wrote the paper. In my paper, I just mentioned my result based on some highlighted theory. Okay. X impact on Y based on this theory. In discussion session, I have my theoretical results. I just mentioned my result follow this particular theory. And I submit the paper go for the peer review, everything pass the desk, and I receive the comment from the reviewer. The authors unable to mention the core regression equation based on the theoretical foundation. So means my some theory is some missing. And this kind of theoretical pattern we usually study in deductive example, testing an existing theory. Testing an existing theory. So I'm giving you the same example. Smoking damage the lungs, increase the risk of diseases and death. Existing theory, develop hypothesis, collection, health data, statistical analysis, accept or reject the hypothesis. Now, if I will just go into the background, just think for a while. Having a having a healthy lungs, you really need to have the healthy atmosphere around you. Having a healthy lungs, you really need to have the a good oxygen around you. Having a healthy lungs, you must need to live in an environment which don't have any kind of pollution. This is the main existing theory of medical sciences, we can simply say. We already know this theory is exist. And now when I start writing my paper, I just start from the deductive approach. This is the core theory which exists. This relationship is already tested. This relationship is a basis. And then I just start writing my paper. Then I just drive my research equation and I start working on it. And now I am adding more variables. So in extremely good paper, in extremely, you can simply say, in extremely good Q1 paper, you always start from testing the existing relationship. You incorporate the new variable in it, and then you make a new built up theory or new evidence. You just come out. Now, question arises. What are the some example of those inductive theory or deductive theory? So here I already mentioned, because my field is international relations, my field is international political economy. So here I give you the small variable of small examples. Foreign direct investment observes that countries receiving higher FDI often experience higher economic growth. Develop the theory that FDI promote GDP. Existing economic theory that FDI improve production and economic growth. Test whether FDI increases GDP growth in specific countries' data. So here in this example, I already mentioned you that for every mechanism, we have a inductive approach also. We also have a deductive theoretical approach. Inductive and deductive theoretical approach. We have a ESG performance, then we have a green energy, then we have a climate change, then we have a water security. Nowadays, I'm working on the last one, water security, sustainability, drought, very famous mechanism, drought, when there is a dryness everywhere. So I'm working on the drought nowadays. So I'm reading a lot of theories related with drought. So in a good research paper, you start build your research model with the basic theory. With the basic theory, you enhance the model by incorporating more theories, more variables in it, and then you build up your new mechanism which you discuss based in your discussion session of research paper. So in a good research paper, you always have deductive and inductive theoretical approaches. So this is the most important thing. Now, second thing which I always say to my students, which I always give a tip to my students, just go in any Q1 journal, download the paper, and same mechanism, Control plus F, and search for the theories. So you guys will be shocked that every top ranked Q1 journal, they have a really, their papers are really enriched with different kind of theories. Because if you not put a lot of theories in your paper, uh, then reviewer can raise the comment from where certain things are coming. Next point, essence of theoretical framework. Now, why we really need to mention the theoretical foundation in the paper. And here is also a small tip which I want to give later, but I will share right now, which I always say to my every student. If you are writing your research paper, either it is from the social sciences, either it is from the political economy, either it is from international economy, either it is from economics, always try to mention the core theory or inductive theory which you proposed in your paper based on your research outcome. Always mention that theory in your keywords. Always mention your this theory in your keyword. Now question arises, professor, like my students, they are asking, professor, why we should mention my theory in my keyword section? My practical life example, guys. When I was doing my PhD and I was writing my theoretical foundation, one of the most biggest problem which I have faced, like a paper which are built on the core theories, core economic theories. Searching for those paper was extremely hard for me. Like when you're searching from the keywords, sometimes those keywords are not even mentioned in the keywords of the paper. So I was unable to find out the paper. And one more thing here, I really would like to mention. If you will go for my Google Scholar and during my COVID-19 2022, 2021, I wrote one paper which is about disruption, about the food chain, supply food chain, and this paper is received more than 200 citation. And one of the most biggest thing which I have figured out, that in that particular paper I have mentioned the few theories. So when the other researcher, they are searching for the certain kind of certain pattern of the theories or empirical analysis of the theories or empirical paper based on the theories, so they are easily able to found my paper on the Google Scholar, on the other databases, and it's really give me the high citation. So my tip for all of you, whenever you are writing your research paper, always mention the keyword of the theory in your keyword section of the paper. Why? Because theory provide the strong foundation for the scientific research. A theoretical framework give a research a scientific basis. It connect the study to the existing knowledge rather than relying on the personal opinion and assumption. Most important point, because all of us, we are here sitting as like a researcher. We are not writing things, sorry to say bluntly, based on our personal opinion. All our thoughts in our paper are based on some kind of existing knowledge, and that particular existing knowledge are derived from some kind of theories. It demonstrates that the research built upon recognized theories and previous studies. Exactly. So here is the key message. Research without the theory lacks a solid scientific foundation. So if you guys will just look that if you have a lot of papers which are rejecting, so just try to figure out that what is the core phenomena, and I am pretty sure the core phenomena of rejecting in your papers are a scientific foundation based on the theory. And that's what I told you before, that scientific foundation means deductive. We started from the core business business relationship from some theory. Then what is the benefit of putting the theoretical framework in your research? Guide the research process. Help researcher define the research problem, assisting the selecting appropriate variable, research methods. Keep the steady focus and organize from beginning to the end. So if you will have a theoretical foundation in your paper, so it will really help. It will really, it will really helpful for the reader, for you, able to understand your core variables of your study. Then the most important thing, support the hypothesis development. So if you have the theoretical foundation, it provides the logical reasoning for proposing the hypothesis. Ensure research question hypotheses are based on established knowledge rather than the guesswork. So that is the most important point. So whatever hypothesis you are testing in your research work, it is not based on the guesswork. It is not based on some kind of hypothetical, or you can simply say the guessing. Oh, this is happening this is happening this. No, it is based on the core theory. Make the study more systematic and scientifically credible. Key message, good hypotheses are grounded on the sound theory. Here I word the use sound theory. Sound theory means the basic assumption of your research equation. The basic assumption of your research equation. Then the next slide. Uh, Slide number 4 and 5 is entirely about your inductive approach, is entirely about your inductive mechanism. What is the meaning? Whatever results you have drive, whatever results you have drive, now you are explaining your results based on some core economic theory, political science theory, international theory mechanism. So point number 4, help interpret research finding, explain why certain results occur, enable researcher to compare their finding with the existing theories, help determine whether results support extended or challenge provided previous knowledges. Now, the most important thing over here, extremely most important thing, which I have also learned from my own personal experience. I wrote one paper, I test one theory, and my this theory is tested. I just write everything in the discussion session, like my this results are according to the this theory, this theory, this theory. And then I received the counter argument from the reviewer that your this mechanism is valid for this particularly country sample, because this mechanism is also not valid for the other country's mechanism. So now kindly mention in the limitation of your research that your those results, your those theoretical framework are only appropriate or only applicable for that certain country's data, that certain country's mechanism. So technically, theory gives meanings to the research finding and enhance research quality and credibility. This is the most important point. If you guys really want to go for the Q1 paper, a top ranked journal, I always say, I always say to my students that always mention the theory. And here is also one more tip for you. I was in one small workshop and I really learned extremely good thing from a very good professor. And he told me like this, it was regarding writing research paper. He told me like this, just read maximum papers of all the people in every field of the world who received the Nobel Prizes. That was his word. Please kindly read all the research paper or maximum research paper who received the Nobel Prizes in their field, in their research work. And you will shock that in their every research paper, they always mention the theories. Either they analyze the theory in a critical way. Now here is a question arises, what is the meaning of critical analysis of the theory? What is the meaning of critical analysis of the theory? The meaning of critical analysis of the theory in extremely easy wording, that if this theory is particularly valid for one pattern or one scenario, or it is valid for every scenario, or whether this theory unable to provide the explanation of that particular scenario. So whenever you are discussing your theory, you really need to mention that that is the theory, that what theory is mentioning, and that is the scenario, that is the mechanism which this theory is unable to define, which this theory is unable to, is very weak in this particular pattern. So that is the meaning of critical analysis. Giving you the easiest example, foreign direct investment enhance economic growth. Everybody knows. Normal phenomena. Foreign direct investment enhance economic growth in all the developing countries. Mostly, most important phenomena. What if foreign direct investment showing negative impact on the economic growth? This is the critical analysis. What if the foreign direct investment showing positive but very weak impact on the economic growth in certain developed countries, and in certain developed countries is showing strongly high impact? So what is the reason behind? Here we need to analyze it more critically. So what how this relationship is defined in a more critical way. So, enhanced research quality and credibility, demonstrate academic rigors, show reviewers, reader that the study is clearly conceptual foundation, increase the reliability, validity, and overall quality of the research. A strong theoretical framework strengthen the credibility of the entire study. That is the key point over here. If you're writing your good research paper, abstract, introduction, then always go for the theoretical review, then go for the empirical literature review, then go for the research framework. So now in the second part, the theoretical review. What existing theory show about your current research paper? Now, key takeaway, very, very, very much important, that what I already discussed earlier. Mention the theory in the keyword. I always say to my students, always show your either deductive theory, either inductive theory, always show in your keyword. Show the theoretical foundation of the study, improve the visibility of the academic database. And I can challenge you, start mentioning theories in your keywords. In a few years, you guys will see that your citations are getting increased. Your citations are getting increased. Example keywords here I just give: climate change, food security, environmental Cousins curve theory. So here I just mentioned few example. Discuss the theory in the discussion session. Most important, whatever is your research outcomes, I always say to my student, always mention in your discussion session that whether your results are according to the certain theory, or even if your, here is the most important thing, even if your results are not according to the certain theory, please mention the scientific reasoning that my results are not follow this scientific theory, which due to the fact that maybe due to the sample of my country, maybe my sample country is different, maybe my sample country have this kind of issue. So always mention the scientific reasoning. Why? Because it might possible in future some other countries, some other pattern have the similar kind of results, so they are going to give the citation of your research paper. That similar kind of research, similar kind of scientific outcomes is already mentioned by the previous researcher. So you always need to mention your research outcome in the discussion session regarding your theory. Validate theory into the new context. This is also most important thing. Environmental quotient curve, I'm not going to the detail, but I'm just trying to explain you. Environmental example. Environmental quotient curve means like this, that when economic growth increases, it's make more carbon dioxide. Okay, in easiest way. But on the other hand, this mechanism is not true for the certain countries where their productivity is based on the agriculture sector. And in the agriculture sector, the most contribution is from the nitrogen dioxide. So in that particular country, environmental quotient curve is not valid. So example, for example, the Brazil. For example, in terms of agriculture country, Poland. Poland is a agriculture country. So you can say in terms of Poland, environmental quotient curve is not valid somehow. So you always need to mention that whether your results are according to the some theory or not. Even if your results are not according to the some theory, you always need to mention what is the scientific reasoning behind it. And practical life example. My student, he is writing the paper, and for example, for certain variable, we always say that this variable should have the positive relationship with the dependent variable. And he tests his model a lot. He tests his model from the different angles, correlation, regression, and different kind of regression model, and all the time his relationship is showing negative, bit supposed to be positive in nature according to the theory. And I just told him, just mention your negative relationship and just mention that here this particular theory is not validate. We are unable to validate that particular theory according to our this sample. And the same thing happen. uh, we submit the paper, this journal, they just ask for the data file, we send them the codes data file, and in the end journal agree that this particular mechanism is not valid for this particular country, and we provide the scientific justification about it. And here, the most important thing, build a theory nexus. Combining two complementary theories provide deeper explanation of complex problem. Climate vulnerability theory and resource dependency theory. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? Sometime when you have your results, and in your results you can easily figure out that your results are validated by the two theories side by side. You can easily validate two theories. So I always say to my students, always mention both theories name, that these results are validated by the both theories in a complementary way. In a complementary way. Next, we have what happen if a research study is lack of theoretical framework. What will happen if you will not have the uh, theoretical foundation? The most important thing, lack of direction. That's what happened particularly with me. That's what happened particularly with me. I can here say like this, that my research proposal, to be very honest, my research proposal was rejected by my professor when I was writing my PhD. I think more than 7 or 8 times. I can even share his comments. All the time making research proposal, sending him, reject. Reading 2 3 pages, his comments, from where you have this statement, from where you have this this relationship. This is not according to this theory. This is not according to this theory. And this rejection really gave me a lot of practice. And he really told me like this, you really need to stick with certain theory and you really need to be focused in your research. So if you will not have theoretical framework, the study may become unfocused. You will not have a focus in the study. Researcher may struggle to define the purpose and the scope of research. Extremely important point. Okay. I can share with you nowadays, among with all of our researchers, one of the most biggest challenge or biggest fear which all of us are facing is the retraction of the papers. A lot of papers are retracting nowadays. Papers are published 3 years, 4 years ago, and after certain period of time, journals are just sending email, and in most of the papers, when journals are sending the retraction emails, they sometime mention in most of those paper the results are not reliable. The results are not reliable. And what is the meaning of this? These results are not reliable. You have the relationship you found from your empirical analysis, but those empirical analysis outcomes, they don't have any scientific theory based justification. And journals are retracting those paper because your scope, your purpose of the research is not clearly mentioned. Weak justification, that is the important point also here. Second, if you will not have a theoretical background in your research paper, it might possible your paper will reject after a few years, and journal will say, oh, when you wrote those paper, write that paper on that time, you didn't able to provide the theoretical justification. Variable hypothesis research question may appear arbitrary. Reader may question your certain concept were included. Why certain concepts are included? So see, example here. Example for all of you. Uh, Approximately 12 years or 13 years ago, I remember one thing. We have a very much famous one professor from China, Professor Shehbaz. His paper regarding autoregressive distributed lag for Angola, one of the most top cited paper of the world. Okay. And he mentioned this ARDL methodology. He empirically analyzed approximately 16 or 17 years back. And after his analysis, we have seen one more research empirical analysis based on NARDL, non-linear. I'm not going to the in detail. Non-linear means relationship is not in the linear way. And based on this non-linear mechanism, after that, from last 12 years, a lot of new different methods are discovered or discussed or validate in economics just because of the non-linear relationship, just because of non-linear relationship. So what is the meaning? If you will go point number 2, readers may question why certain concepts were included or excluded, I would say. Means now in the research, when we are testing relationship with a lot of different variables with each other, sometimes some variables can be excluded, omitted, or included in the research. So if you will have a theoretical justification, so journal and reader will never raise the concern. Point number 3, difficulty interpreting the results. So if you mention your research outcome according to the theory, so your results are extremely scientific, not like a you just giving the description. It will be extremely scientific. It's become harder to explain why observed relationship exists, reduce academic credibility. So if there is no theoretical framework mentioned in your paper, it will eventually decrease the academic credibility and limited contribution to the knowledge. Point number 5, the key point for the key takeaway point for the today. Whenever you are writing your research paper, always mention your theoretical contribution in the existing knowledge in the key terms that you develop your this paper based on that particular theory, and mention that theory in your key terms, keywords of the paper. And now I would like to take you back on my slide number here, the theoretical framework. What is actually the strongest theoretical framework? A theoretical framework is the backbone of the scientific research. A theoretical framework is the backbone of the scientific research. It provides direction, support hypothesis development, guide data interpretation, strengthening research quality, ensure the finding contribution meaningful to the existing knowledge. Without the theoretical framework, research risks become descriptive, less rigor, and less impactful. And here I just mention about the PhD thesis. A strong PhD thesis is not only about the variable, it is about connecting variables with the theoretical explanation. So, whatever you are mentioning in your research work, you always need to mention your theoretical explanation. So, these are the few things which I would like to share with you guys today. Okay, so if you have any question, I try to sum up my session as concise way, as quick as I can. Yes. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Yes. Thank you, Professor. There is a
Uh,
hand raised. Samik Bagachi.
yes, sir.
Yes. Yes.
My question is that in one of the slides you have mentioned,
Mm-hmm,
sir, that research should be explanatory, not
mm-hmm,
the descriptive. In that,
mm-hmm.
what you have want to describe here means it is like the descriptive means the full description without any theory mention or without any citation like this. It is like that you want to and no correlation, no degradation analysis like this,
Oh,
no
right.
proper interpretation. That's what
Oh,
it meant. I want to do.
okay. Okay. Finding become difficulty in interpreting the results. Okay. Meaning,
Hmm.
if you will not have the theoretical foundation. If you will not have the theoretical foundation, your research will be descriptive. What is the meaning of descriptive? A is
Just like
increasing,
the, yeah,
B is also increasing, just like a normal description, correlation. Okay,
normal is okay.
normal. But
Mm,
why this correlation exists between two variable? Okay,
mm,
according to the which theory you
mm.
always need to mention.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so if you will not mention it, okay, I can
Mm.
tell you the one more thing, giving you the answer of your answer of your question.
Yes, sir.
uh, if you will see, try to analyze the pattern of the research paper. Just try to analyze the pattern of the research paper.
Mm,
2027, 2028, 2029, if you will see that uh, the paper which are published in the top ranked journals, they always mention about so much descriptions, like summary statistics, standard deviations they are mentioning, and they are mentioning about whole paragraph about the correlation metrics. Okay, and
mm,
now if you will just try to analyze the pattern from the last 2 or 3 years,
mm,
papers are really not going to the too much detail, the description of the correlation matrix. They just say,
mm,
just make the
mm,
diagram, just make the table, write 2 or 3 lines that there is a no multicollinearity because of this. You don't need to mention correlation between every variable. There is no sense. You
mm,
see, those things are getting very much concise nowadays, extremely concise. And now they are more focused on the research interpretation. And see, that is why, analyze the pattern. Uh, Giving you the example, quantile regression. Okay, quantile
mm,
regression means regression is done and you have the results on the different quantiles, and
mm,
sometimes those results are positive, then their power of positiveness is reduced, then they become the negative. In different quantiles, different powers they are explaining. So journals are extremely important to know what is the reason behind in the changing of that signs and explanatory power of the variables based on the
mm,
theory, based on
mm,
the theory. So they are
mm,
extremely very much interested in that kind of mechanism rather
mm.
than the descriptive correlation, summary statistics. So that is the things which we really need to focus.
Okay.
Justification of the, giving you my particular example in my PhD thesis, uh, when my variables like foreign direct investment, I remember even I wrote my PhD thesis like a long back ago. I remember my FDI was showing its coefficient was 0.80, 0.65, 0.56, 0.32, and my supervisor told me, please explain the power of the coefficient, why this coefficient is high in certain group of countries, why it is low in certain group of countries. So you need to provide the scientific justification here based on the theory. And I did it.
Mm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And a proper justification with the help of theory, supporting theory.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. You always need, and see, if you will give the proper justification, you will get the citations.
Mm-hmm.
This is the
Yes.
mechanism behind it. This is the mechanism behind it.
That means understanding the theory and as well as justify with your correlation and the relation, so that you can understand how the variables are relating with each other and how you have justify explaining that part.
Exactly. And I would say one thing over here, okay? My personal opinion, okay? So see, foreign directment have positive correlation with economic growth, okay? Positive,
Yes,
okay?
yes,
And now I
yes.
can ask the chat GPT. Does it possible that foreign direct investment have a negative correlation with the economic growth? If yes, what can be the reason? Okay, can you show me the some sample countries? Can you show me the some sample countries where foreign direct investment have the negative impact on the economic growth? So Chat GPT start giving you the reasoning, and here your thought process will start. You will go more deep and deep, more deep and deep. I always say to my student, try to start speaking with the Chat GPT. Start speaking with the
Mm,
Chat GPT. Do chat with Chat GPT.
mm.
Whatever mechanism is coming in your mind, you will learn a lot of things.
Okay, sir. Yes, that means the understanding the both side of the coin. That means a negative and positive.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. That means
Exactly.
one point also you have mentioned, the reviewers may consider the study insufficiently grounded. That means one theory you have mentioned or a justification you have not given. That means the theory is not being properly explained in your thesis part. That is that meaning, sir?
Yes. Meaning I'm meaning like this. Okay. So a question to you. What is the meaning of limitation of the study?
Hmm.
What is the meaning of limitation of the study? Okay,
Okay.
limitation of the study means that your this particular results are valid for those particular country, that
Yes.
particular country, this
Okay.
particular panel. Okay, so
Hmm.
you always mention the limitations of your study. Okay, and I always say to my students, always mention your limitations of the study after your conclusion, that your those results are valid for that particular country. Also mention regarding your sample size, that those results are valid for that particular sample size. It might possible relationship would be against your outcome for different sample country with the more variables, with the more sample size. So you always need to stick with your limitation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Professor, I also
Yes,
would
sir.
like to intervene here. Like when
Mhm.
we base our theory on the on our own observation, do you not think it will lead to the positivism, rigid positivism? Like when we try to engage whatever we have observed, and after that
Mm.
we try to engage the theory on that. I want to ask from you
Like,
that if
like, what do you mean? Whatever you observe, like
like whatever
your
you have
result.
observed that
Mhm.
after that you try to build upon the theory that you are trying that, like you have mentioned that we need to ask from the chat gpt we have to
Mhm.
start like that that is the dominant narrative the chat gpt will provide us that is has already been written like you have also mentioned in your slides that sometimes there is something that is unexplored that doesn't match with any theory then how we have to engage with that kind of situation.
This is also mentioned in my slide. Okay, and it is in a combining two complementary theory.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay, so meaning like this, one thing is unexplored. Okay, but one thing is already explored. Okay, so now here, a thing which is really not explored a lot, you are combining those mechanism, and you are mention the outcomes are in the favor of climate vulnerability led resource dependency theories, which explain that climate is vulnerable because of resources, this reason. So
Mm.
you can always combine those theories, two theories together
Mm.
in a complementary way.
Okay.
I want to jump here. If, for
Yes.
example, we fail to have this complementary, comparison between two theories, so especially if we try to check some human development indicators or try to read some readings regarding socio-economic indicators, we are having different populations, ultra poor, poor, poorest, and destitute. Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
normal logical reasoning or universal truth, type theories fail. So,
Mm-hmm.
what we should do at that time where we are unable to find two complementary theories to, define our findings?
Good question, extremely good question. And we have, I discussed this with one professor. Her name is Iram Naz. Okay. She also have the same situation. Okay. And there is a one variable which is regarding with the technology and environment, which supposed to show the positive relationship on the dependent variable, but the outcome was the negative relationship. And they were saying like this, that for us, how you can simply say like this, that we test the model a lot, we run in different softwares, but still the relationship was showing us the negative, which supposed to have the positive, as Professor Firdos said, like the universal truth kind of thing, a positive, but relationship is showing the negative. And then they discuss with this outcome with German professor. Okay. And their sample country is from the OECD sample countries. And that German professor said like this, now do like this. Okay. Same variables, run for the different panel, developing countries, and divide the developing countries based on their income, like a two sub panels of the developing countries. And then uh, try to also divide OECD into two panels, and then test your hypothesis. And they did the same. And what they have figured out, that the top rank OECD countries, which are, how you can simply say, which are really highly high income OECD countries, in that OECD countries, relationship was still negative. But in the OECD countries, which are the low income OECD countries, relationship was showing the positive relationship. So then they provide the scientific justification that this particular variable, due to the extremely advanced technology, it is showing the reversal effect. It is showing the reverse effect, and it can happen. It can happen. It's showing the reversal effect due to the advanced technology. So then they provide this scientific justification in their paper. So we can face a lot of issues like this, that our outcomes are not according to the universal truth outcomes, and we really need to provide the specific scientific justification. And to be very honest, we are able to find the justification as well. It is not a, I always say it is not a rocket science. That's why we are here, being like a researchers.
So let us give opportunity to other participants. There are two hands
Sure,
raised.
Ashmita
sure.
Shetty. Ashmita
Yeah.
Shetty, now you can ask your question.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, yes.
Sir, my doubt is initially in the first or second slide, somewhere you told like
Mhm,
we need to collect the data. Whatever the data we collected, we need to observe and we have to construct the theory.
mhm,
Okay. And again, in the sixth slide, it is written like whatever the theory we constructed, based on that, we have to develop the hypothesis. Next, again, it is written collect the data. So, what exactly is this, sir? What's the difference
Okay,
between the first one and this one?
exactly. Good question. Now I'm going to explain, and that's how I conclude here. Okay, here. And during my presentation, I told like this that we should not bluntly just go for the patterns according to the slide number 5. Observation, pattern, and theory. We should not go bluntly like this. We should start from the deductive theory. Deductive means in the basic equation, giving you the best example. If here we have the economic students are available, are here, solo growth model, okay, which is a basic economic growth model. Okay, economic growth is based on the finance, labor, and capital, okay, which is the basic economic growth model. And then based on the solo economic growth model, even the economic quotient curves are developed, even the sustainability models are developed. So here mean like this, that you cannot just bluntly start analyzing the variables together. You should always have the pinpoint from the core basic theory. Like this model is developed by this model is developed by the core model. Just allow me a moment. 1 second, I have here something. Here, uh, giving you best example. We have the solo model. Economic growth is equals to capital plus labor plus entrepreneurship, okay, and so on, okay. And then in the next way, we are adding more variable in the solo growth model. And in the next variables, we are also adding technology transfer. We are also adding inflation. We are also adding monetary concept. We are also adding digitalization. We are also adding sustainability things. Okay, sustainability concept. So now your basic economic equation, which is economic growth is equals to A plus B, is getting enriched, and that enrichment are coming from the different theoretical perspective. And then you arrive on your core equation. This is my core equation. So I will share with Dr. Firdaus the a draft form in an easy way. That's how you can start from the deductive, do your analysis, arrive on the inductive approach. How you can simultaneously go with the deductive and inductive approach.
The next
Yes, sir.
question
Thank
is
you
Yes.
so
from
much, sir. Thank you.
Shitu Bhatia. Now you can ask your question.
Good evening, sir. So my
Mhm.
question is, with theoretical framework, which method or which way is better, SLR or bibliometric analysis?
SLR or bibliometric analysis. Okay.
Yes.
I would say like this, that SLR or bibliometric analysis. Okay. You really need to understand the core theory of your research work. This is the most important thing. I always say to my students, whenever you are making your uh, like example, nowadays I am working on the food production. Okay. Food production is based heavily based on the agriculture productivity. Agree or not? Food is increasing, food production is increased when the agriculture productivity is increased. This is my core mechanism. This core mechanism is exist as like a theory in the economics. So I start my research from this core economics in a equation form. And then I am incorporating more variable in my this core model based on certain theories and based on certain pattern. So I already have the, you can say, the deductive example of the theory, and then I am adding more variables in it. And according to your question, which we should go for the SLR or we should go for the bibliometric analysis, it's entirely depend on your research goal, and is entirely depend on your, how you can say, research mechanism, what you really want to do, what you really want to do. So I would say like this, that if you will do the strong bibliometric analysis, so a lot of pictures will clear in front of you, that from which pinpoint you should start your theoretical foundation. Giving you one more best example. I have MS students, and when they are writing their thesis, I told them to prepare one table. In this table, I'll always say to them, your research problem, mention your research problem and mention at least three theories which validate or which fall under the scope of your research problem. And now start writing the three theories in a tabular form. Who invented that theory? What is the basic definition of that theory? What is the limitation of that theory? And why you are using that theory in your research work? So if you will fill that table with different theories, so picture will be more clear in front of you. Any more questions?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Any other participant wants to ask question?
I always say one thing, whatever paper you write, just go for the control plus F and search. Does you mention the theories in a detailed way in your paper or not? Yes, Ankita. Yes, Miss Ankita.
Yes, Ankita, you can ask your question. Ankita, unmute yourself.
So my question to you is, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is, like, if different theories lead us to understand the same reality in different ways, how can we determine whether a theory is revealing reality itself or simply shaping our interpretation of it?
Okay. So your question is like this, that same theory is showing the different. One second, just repeat your question, please.
I want to ask if different theories lead us to understand the same reality in different ways, right? How can we determine whether the theory is revealing a reality itself or simply shaping our interpretation of it? For example, let's take an example. Suppose we have a problem of poverty, right? Classical economists explain the problem of poverty in different way. If we take classical economists, they explain the poverty in different way. If we take the Marx angle, they will explain the poverty in different way. But they all lead us to the same conclusion, but in a different way. So my question to you is, if different theory lead us to understanding the same reality in different way, how can we determine whether a theory is revealing reality itself or simply shaping our interpretation of it?
So you are asking different school of thoughts explaining the same mechanism but under different umbrella. Okay, different school of thoughts. Okay, we have a different school of thoughts, and those different school of thoughts are exist in every field of the study. Okay,
No,
so
I want to ask, like, the all different school of thoughts, like they make us closer to the reality itself, like theory lead us to the reality itself, or theory is simply shaping our interpretation of that reality?
Theory is, you can simply say like this, theory is simply reshaping the interpretation of the reality. Why?
Okay.
Why? Because reshaping means it is dynamic in nature. It is dynamic in nature. That is why we are doing the. I always say to my students, please try to understand the difference between search and research. We already search a lot of things, and now we are doing the researches of those searches. We are
Right.
researcher here. Yes or not? Okay.
But,
So
but sir, my concern is if every theory begin with its own assumption, right? Its own assumption, it cannot prove it. Why should we trust it as a genuine knowledge rather than just another way of looking at the world?
every theory is based on the assumption. I totally
Yeah.
understand. And based on that assumption, you start your research framework. Okay. And then based on those assumption, you are just, how you can say, enhancing that theory. And then you arrive at certain results. And now you are giving the interpretation of those results according to the, how you can say, according to the outcomes. Okay. And sometimes those outcomes are really opposed to the reality, really against to the reality, really beyond to the reality, but you again still need to provide the justifications.
Can I, add something here?
Yes, 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 yes. Please, please, please.
Although this question is a bit, technical, how
Mm-hmm.
to how to interpret different theories when the conclusion is same. I think this question is from Ankita. Yes. So before, let us suppose we are yet to start a research on poverty. She gave the example of poverty. Reading about poverty, we are having different development institutions like World Bank is giving it its, explanation. Then we are having at, central, let's suppose India, the, there was planning commission, their definition of poverty, explaining in terms of income and all. Similarly, performance of, India, they are calculating it in terms of GDP and rest of the countries. But this literature, helps us to understand different dimensions, different,
Patterns.
interpretations of, uh, core concepts like poverty. So World Bank is defining it with some certain assumptions, as she has, clearly mentioned that different, school of thought, like classical, Marx and all, there are differences, but conclusion is same. But what is, connecting us, that is the literature. So the literature is developed on the basis of research. So what was, for example, if we take the example of Malthus' theory, that is totally irrelevant. So the theory develops at a particular time with certain assumptions. There are always limitations to those theories and all. But as there are some exceptional cases like universal truth, where the reality goes with, and in my research, for example, I there was a universal truth that if income increases, there are chances that poverty will, go overcome. But in case of these, vulnerable populations, which I have studied during my MPhil and PhD, I find this exceptional case that if their income increases, their overall, they were unable to come out of this vicious circle of poverty. So one side, it is, universal truth that if income increases, there are 100% chances that they will come from that poverty line. So therefore, this question is a bit technical, but as per my understanding, every theory, they are having certain time durations, they are having certain
Limitation.
assumptions, they are having certain assumptions, but they lead to one way or other way similar conclusion, as she has mentioned it clearly. But the assumptions and the gaps, they help us to develop the literature over the time. and this literature is to be challenged. It remains limited as the time is evaluating. For example, since last 1 decade, the technology has taken things so advanced, basic theories they fail now. So I hope you can understand. It is a complex question, but time and different assumptions they define that very particular theory in that context. But as instability is increasing, political instability is going, wars are going, we are having theories of globalization and all. So now these times, current trends, current times, they sometimes make conflict what we understood from the theory. So I hope I have put some interpretation in
Interesting.
of this,
Yes.
but yeah, it is challenging that they are giving same conclusion, but sometimes it is very exceptional that it cannot be accepted. So thank you. You can
Uh,
take
uh,
more questions.
yes. On this complex and challenging question, I also want to engage. Professor, we can also take help from the philosophy, like to compare the theories or to or to take suitable theory to particular phenomena. For example, philosophy, one stream is called ontology, that when we see what is reality, like what kind of literature we are going through, it will also help us to engage that to that phenomena. Like, do you not think that these kind of questions can be solved when we engage ourselves with philosophy?
Extremely good topic, and that is especially we discuss this kind of mechanism in heterodox economics.
Yes.
Heterodox economics. Heterodox economics means you are moving away from the core assumptions of the economics and you are studying in a more open way. Okay. For example, uh, 20 years, 30 years ago, there was no concept about feminist economy, economy, collectivism, okay, collective economism, okay. This kind of concepts they are emerging now entirely based on the philosophical phenomena. Those concepts are entirely based on the philosophical phenomena. So we can definitely study it, okay? And it's becoming extremely interesting nowadays. If you will just go for the um, this phenomena, I can recommend you one book which I have, rethinking the economic development. Rethinking the economic development. In that book, they mention entirely about the different philosophical mechanisms of the economy in a very collective way.
So yeah, I believe there are no more questions. So before, we can give certain chances to participants. If you are having anything, you can please, raise your hand or ask. So I will, request all participants to on their camera. So we can have a group photo also if you are able, to. So I will, request Jaskaran to formally make, conclusion. Then I will set up the, recordings. Okay, so then we can have a group photo. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for those. Really, we have a very wonderful discussion on the relevance of theoretical framework in research. From the very beginning, Professor taught us that from the how we can use a simple technology and computer control of that, how we should find that if there is something that is lacking in our research, how we can engage that theoretical framework in our research. Like we have simultaneously we have to use deductive approach and inductive approach. But yes, he mentioned that to very from the very beginning we have to start from the deductive approach. Like we have to read the vast literature that to dig deep into any phenomena of research, we have to engage with the theory. And in the last, we have very wonderful discussions. We have very good questions from the participants. And Professor very wonderfully he explained those phenomena that we have to engage with while we have to do research to publish in some good research journals. In fact, I think when we have to study or we have to do research, and it should be relevant for the society. Even like we have noticing in these days that we have research in quantity, but the qualitative research definitely there should be some theoretical foundations, and it will make sense in academics and research. I think this today's lecture definitely will help us for the budding researchers, even for all of us also, that we can enhance our research and it will contribute for the beneficial of the society. On the behalf of Jammu and Kashmir Economic Association and on the behalf of all the participants, I extend my gratitude to the professor. You have spared time for all of us and you explored. This is a very relevant and very important for all the researchers. We should have theoretical foundation when we are investigating or researching that is relevant for the society and for the all the economies and especially for the global south. I think sometimes when we follow what is already researched in the global north, sometimes we blindly following that those theories and professor also mentioned the importance of inductive approach. Like we in the end in the discussion we have discussed that as Professor Firdaus also mentioned that sometimes we don't have those theories that we can connect our observations. At that time, we also have some way to how we can connect and we can find something new in research. And thank you, sir. Thank you all the participants for listening and participation in this discussion and lecture. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dr. Laeeq and Dr. Jaskaran, for accepting our short notice invitation and enlighten us today about theoretical understanding. I believe it was one of the best lectures. All the lectures were good, but this was a bit extreme. Amazing lecture, I can say. So, on behalf of Jammu and Kashmir Economic Association, SSI International, Global Research Foundation, Crescent University, Mano Rachna School of Business University, Vocational College, University of Delhi, we are very thankful for your precious time and great discussion and discourse. We are looking forward for much more events in future. So I am stopping the recording. I request participants to bear with me few minutes. I will be sharing some guidelines.